Welcome to Only for Teens. Today we'll be talking about the different problems affecting our schools today in the U.S. And to talk to us about this is Miami-Dade County School Board member Carlos Curbelo. He's been a school board member since 2010, and it's a great pleasure to have you here on the program, Mr. Curbelo.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation, and congratulations on this wonderful program, this series that you have going that allows young people to get involved and become aware of some of the big issues that affect them.
Thank you. Now, it's no secret that we can improve America's public education system. The PISA exams have consistently placed American students in the middle of the rankings with other participating countries, compared to other participating countries. And the results have been stagnating. So in other words, there have been no significant, consistent gains in these results. Now, Mr. Curbelo, what do you believe is or are some of the biggest problems facing our schools today in terms of quality of education?
So our country for a long time had wonderful public schools that prepared students for college or for the workforce. And then somewhere in the last maybe 30 to 40 years, we started losing our way. And we started becoming comfortable with mediocrity. Why? Because public education, which before had always been about the student, right? That's the reason we have schools, to teach kids and adolescents. It started becoming about the adults. Was the teachers union happy? Was all the other unions that are involved in public education, were they satisfied? The contractors, the education bureaucracy. So public education stopped focusing on students. And when that happened, and as that happened, the quality of education started going down, and all of a sudden we were okay with failing schools. For example, in Miami-Dade County, just a few years ago, we used to have 11 F-rated high schools. And for many years, those high schools didn't educate students. And they would graduate young people that didn't know how to read and didn't have basic skills that you need to either go to college or get a job. So we've seen that improving in Miami and in the state of Florida because we have had the education reform movement take hold here, where we have accountability, where we measure whether or not students are learning, and we hold adults accountable for the work that's taking place in our schools.
Right, and this general shift away from the focus on students, is that also the reason why we've been doing so poorly on an international level and on international exams?
Right. So when you compare the United States to other countries, we're kind of in the middle. Mm-hmm. And that's a shame for a country that spends a lot more on education than most other countries in the world. Right. So what does that tell me? It tells me that a lot of the dollars that we are putting into our education system aren't being used efficiently and are going to other things that are not, student achievement and making sure our young people have at least the basic skills that are necessary to be what we call college and career ready. I think that's the goal, for people to go to high school, and once they get out of high school, either find a job or go into higher learning. But if you don't have a minimum set of skills, it's very hard to do that. And for many years, our public schools were graduating students that lacked these skills. And that was a great disservice to those students, but also to taxpayers who are investing every year, invest billions of dollars in public education.
Right, so in society in general.
Right, and there are a lot of antidotes that we have injected into the system. School choice, accountability, high standards, demanding that every student be given an opportunity to learn. Before, especially schools in poor areas, there was kind of the attitude, well, it doesn't matter if kids in that area aren't doing well. They're not supposed to do well, and that's shameful. That's bigotry, and we're slowly getting rid of that type of unfortunate attitude.
And apart from this attitude, are there any other major problems that are affecting our schools that cause these low international scores?
I think we're really on the path to improving our public education system. I can tell you for a fact that that's the case in Miami-Dade County. Just 5 years ago, our graduation rate in this county was about 60%. Today, it's almost 80%. Like I told you, we had 11 F high schools. Today, we have none. Student achievement is up across the board. And I know people, criticize the standardized tests. They don't like them. But in reality, it's the only way that we can measure whether or not students are learning and compare students from one school to another school. Because if you have a teacher in one classroom that gives a really hard test and students don't do well, and then you have the teacher next door that gives students an easy test and everyone gets an A, it's very hard. You're not comparing apples to apples, you're comparing apples to oranges, and that doesn't work out. So I agree that we need to reform our testing and that there shouldn't be so much of an emphasis on testing, but without a doubt, we have to test students because otherwise we can't measure, and you can't manage and you can't improve what you can't measure.
Well, I think that's a good point. And speaking on the topic of standardized tests, I mentioned how the PISA has been ranking American students compared to other students across the world. Do you think the PISA accurately compares American schools with other foreign schools, countries?
One of the problems with the PISA is that we cannot be sure that all countries hold themselves to the same levels of integrity and honesty that we do. So we don't know, for example, if in China the students are, taking the test as we do here, and that there isn't any, fraudulent activity going on. So that's one of the criticisms I've heard of the PISA. But certainly there are other countries, for example, in Europe, that take the test that I think it does make sense for us to compare and contrast and learn from these countries, and hopefully we have something to teach them as well. But another important factor is which students are taking the tests in all of these countries, because we all know that no matter what country you're in, higher income students that come from higher income families tend to do better because they have more resources to get a higher quality education or to get tutors, have stable homes, all of these elements that are key to having a good education. So it's hard to compare the PISA. There's so many factors, but it doesn't hurt to take a look at it and to see if there's anything that we could be doing better in our public education system.
Right, looking to see what other countries may be doing that we may do.
Exactly. We can learn. Look, Finland, from what I understand, has
ranks
a very good education system. Singapore, there are countries throughout the world that are doing very well and that are educating their students very effectively. And if we can learn from them, we should.
And moving a little bit away towards the school itself and the school system and towards the family, what do you believe should be the parents' role in the education system and with their children and their education?
Look, parents have to understand that education starts at home. And teachers are fundamental to education without question. But a student who doesn't have supportive parents that try to help them with their homework when they get home, or find someone that can help them, that go to school and visit with teachers and ask questions about their children, it's very hard to put it all on the school, to put it all on teachers. We really need parents to get engaged. And that's challenging because as the economy has gotten tougher for a lot of people, before you used to have at least one parent staying home. That's less and less frequently the case. A lot of parents work 2 jobs, so it's tough. But without question, to the degree that parents can get involved in their children's education, they should, because the parents are the chief educators of their children. Then come the teachers.
So, parents are very important.
Parental involvement. It's important. I talk about it everywhere I go, and some of our schools have very high levels of parental involvement, and some have very low levels.
And the ones with higher levels tend to do better.
Absolutely. You can correlate the better exam scores to the schools where parents are more involved.
And out of curiosity, do you believe any of or part of the answer to fixing our schools lie in using technology in our education, in helping educate children?
So here's what's exciting about technology. Technology can really help us close the achievement gap. As I told you before, there's strong correlation between income levels and student performance in school. Technology can help close that gap. Why? Because whereas before, only higher income students, for example, could afford to go on a field trip to another country or even another state to learn something, to see something for themselves. Technology is now making it possible, and this is just one example, for people to travel, to transport themselves to destinations all over the world and to virtually learn and to see other places and learn about different cultures and different customs. So technology really is going to help us give all students, but especially lower income students, the opportunity to learn in the way that everyone else does. So, for example, in Miami-Dade County Public Schools now we're starting a program to make sure that every student has either a laptop or a tablet. So whereas before only students from higher income families could afford that, and without question that's a great learning tool, now all of our students are going to have access to that technology, and all of our students are going to be able to extend the school day by taking their device home and doing some learning at home.
All right. And a lot of things you said about traveling to other places or things like that with technology, it's within the comfort of the classroom.
Exactly. The technology is a window to the world, into the universe, really, and now everyone is going to have access to that window.
Well, thank you, Mr. Curbelo, so much for being on this program.
It's been my pleasure, and congratulations again for running a great program. And also for caring about our community and for your generation.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Well, we hope you enjoyed today's program. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel.